journalists. It's been a month since Thailand's army took power in a coup. The move followed months of unrest that had destabilized the country's elected government and split the country down two political lines. Well, now the army is bringing those rival sides together to try and mediate a solution. Scott Heidler reports from Chiang Mai in northern Thailand.
In Buddhist scripture, when Buddha is in this pose, hand raised with his palm showing, it's to prevent families from fighting.
The military government is hoping its reconciliation program will stop the fighting between Thailand's families. But one monk believes that that can only happen if both sides, both families, are treated equally.
Prakru Sutep Sitikun is part of a red shirt group in northern Thailand. One of many supporters in the homeland of the former ruling party led by the Shinawat family.
If they accept us, it will be peaceful soon. Reconciliation and dissolving the colours is not possible until everyone is equal and not jeering at each other. Then that's reconciliation.
One of the leaders of the 200,000-member red shirt group was detained after the coup. He said he was well treated.
The junta says that it wants to dissolve the colours and reconcile the two sides. Then they need to use the law based on justice and equality. That's it. Because we gain nothing if we keep fighting.
Local government officials in brown uniforms are told by the army just how the reconciliation process will go. They say centers will be set up so the two sides can work toward understanding each other better. But there's been no indication if that's actually happening, just a time frame from the army. Reconciliation will take 3 months. Newly appointed by the army, this is what the governor of Chiang Mai province had to say about reconciliation.
Trying to point out that no one has to win or lose, neither red or yellow. We just stopped the fight before it got violent. We believe that different ideas must not divide the society. Different ideology is fundamental to democracy, but it must not lead to division.
But bridging those ideologies and differences will be tougher for some Thais, especially for those who oppose the coup but can't say anything about it. Scott Heidler, Al Jazeera, Chiang Mai, Thailand.
Well, let's talk to Benjamin Zawacki. He's a Southeast Asia expert and joins us live from the Thai capital. Benjamin Zawacki, the army said they carried out the coup to end months of political unrest in Thailand. Has it brought stability to the country? Is this reconciliation program going to work?
Well, on the matter of stability, in the short term, yes, there's no question that demonstrators are off the streets. A whole raft of petitions have been given and accepted by the government, everything from paying farmers overdue payments to cracking down on motorcycle gang mafias to forest reclamation projects, etc. So in the short term, stability has been achieved. On the larger term, looking at reconciliation moving forward, only time will really tell whether or not this surface stability that exists now will be accepted by the majority of the population and will hold moving forward. One also has to keep in mind that the price of stability in the short term has come, the price is people's rights, civil and political rights have been suspended, but there's no indication, at least as of yet, that the majority of the population is dissenting to this or taking an oppositional view to this. And so certainly in the short term stability has been achieved, but moving forward it's difficult to say.
Yeah, it's an interesting point you make there, because political protests and criticism of the coup remain banned by the military junta. So what impact has all of this had on true democracy in Thailand? Some observers say it's been eroded irrevocably.
Well, the government is talking about within a 15 to 20 month period holding an election. And while an election is not the end-all be-all of a democracy, it is certainly a critical and foundational element. And so I would expect two things to happen in the run-up to those elections. One, the loosening of restrictions has to take place. Certainly any kind of campaigning period in the run-up to an election, by definition, would entail an oppositional view being put forward, trying to put yourself out there in contrast to your opponent. And secondly, finally, what has to happen is the reform process between now and then also has to be consultative and allow for an oppositional view. But as you've pointed out, under military rule, under martial law, it's impossible to criticize the government legally, and therefore the government's claim that over 90% or so of the population is in support of the coup is simply impossible to verify.
But let me ask a final question, Benjamin. I mean, is the army carrying on the fight of the anti-government protesters by creating an agenda that perhaps redrafts the constitution, that brings in political reforms ahead of the election that you just mentioned? I mean, what is the army's agenda here?
Well, politics in Thailand has always been a zero-sum game. You either win it all or you lose everything. And it's clear that one side has won. The PDRC that laid the political groundwork for the coup over the eight months or so before the coup has clearly won. And so talking about reconciliation is very difficult when the opposite side, the government-supporting side, until the coup, has simply lost it all. I expect the reform process will result in a situation in which, regardless of who wins the election in 15 to 20 months, the side supporting the coup will still have a preponderance of power. It is one thing to hold office. It is another thing to actually hold power. And I would expect the rules of the game will be recalculated in such a way that the side of the political divide in support of the coup will effectively remain in power, regardless of what the electorate has to say.
Benjamin Zawacki, thank you for talking to Al Jazeera.